The base history has really been all about the Kwale project in Kenya. It was Kenya's first ever large-scale mine, which obviously brought with it its challenges. We still represent something like 60% of the Kenyan mining industry. It's been a very successful development on any measure. We delivered that project on time, more or less on budget. It's been a very smooth ramp up, certainly by mineral sands standards, to a performance level now that exceeds the original design intent of the project. We've got a very successful business model in Africa. We've won a number of awards for our environmental and social programs. We have a very successful relationship with the government of Kenya, and we're really ready to apply that model to the next challenge, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But first, what it's all about, or has been all about up till now, is Kwale. We completed the construction of Kwale in late 2013 and got our first shipment away early 2014. We're south of Mombasa, about halfway between Mombasa and the Tanzanian border, 50 kilometres away. This particular bit of footage is about 2 years old, but you can see the very large tailings dam in the middle there. One of the features of this ore body was high slime, about 25% slime, which is like kryptonite to mineral sand companies by and large, but we've been able to manage that very successfully. We've been using the dozer trap mining method up until about a year ago exclusively. Works very well, but we recognised an opportunity to actually turn our slime from a liability into a virtue using hydro mining. Because of that slime level, we can add water to the face effectively, slurry it, and then collect it through what looks like a fairly agricultural mechanism of launders cut into the floor of the pit, but it works absolutely brilliantly. And just transports it and then gets pumped up with the material from the dozer trap to our plant. We are now migrating towards using hydro mining exclusively at the operation. That'll be happening over the course of the next 12 months or so. Very simple processing at Kwale. We didn't need to develop anything proprietary for that operation. Quite straightforward. It's a very consistent operation. This tailings storage facility and our tailings management is a very large part of our business. The new project I'll be talking about in a minute in Madagascar, the Toliara Sands project, doesn't have any of that tailings management because it's only 4% slime, so it's going to be a lower cost operation. We've now topped that tailings dam out in terms of the wall, and so we're now starting to rehabilitate the wall, as you can see there. As I said a minute ago, it's very consistent operation. We're producing this year. We'll produce around 470,000 tonnes of ilmenite, around 90,000 tonnes of rutile, and about 36 or 37,000 tonnes of zircon. So it's quite a large operation, quite significant in the sector. As I said, very simple processing. This is all conventional mineral sand separation technology. It's a physical process. There's no chemical at all in a mineral sand processing plant, which is great for countries like Kenya, where it's the first large-scale mine, and it's much easier for people to get their heads around from an environmental perspective. Everything leaves site in trucks. All of our ilmenite goes out in bulk. Most of our rutile goes the same way, and then the remaining rutile and our zircon goes out in containers. We had to build a road to connect into the main transcontinental highway that runs from Mombasa down to Tanzania. It's a 50k haul straight up an extremely good road to the port of Mombasa. Mombasa is a very large port, has about 1,700 ship movements a year. The main port is on the left-hand side, as you see it there, on the island, and we have our own facility on the south side with a shed that holds about 100,000 tonnes. Very simple, stockpiling and reclaim, not a lot to go wrong. And then we own our own jetty facility. Looks rather disconcerting when you can bring a 55,000 tonne boat in that close to shore. The first time you see it, it just doesn't look right. But it's a natural port, natural deep water port, and because we're inside a port environment, we don't have any issues with weather or seas interrupting our loading. And we've been operating now for 4 years, and we haven't had any demurrage at all. Just as important as the operational performance has been our safety performance. We've worked nearly 20 million man hours now, including in construction. We've had 3 relatively minor lost time injuries and haven't had one for 4 years now. We've clocked over 11 million man hours without a lost time injury, which is pretty remarkable given that we're 96% Kenyan workforce. One of the strengths of this project, and one of the reasons we particularly liked it, and also why we are positioned the way we are, very high revenue to cash cost ratio, nearly 3 to 1. That's the very, very top of our sector. We're now looking to expand our mine life on the basis of the current reserve. We have 5 years to go. We've now just completed some drilling down in that South Dune extension area, and that's added another year. We're about to get up into the northeast in the next couple of months. That's what we look like now. Really strong shareholder base, very supportive shareholders, 325 million market cap. We've got our net debt down to 66 million. We're pulling that down by about 20 million a quarter. So we'll be debt-free by the end of the year. Really strong earnings. Since 2017, the second half, where we made 66 million, prices have only improved. So we're in really good shape. The market's continuing to improve. We've seen some recovery in prices, particularly the ilmenite price, over the course of 2017. It's settled back a little bit now to 150, but we're really seeing rutile and zircon taking strides ahead. The zircon price is up over 50% from what it was at the end of June. Good long-term fundamentals for mineral sands. The applications of it in pigments and ceramics and various other applications are basically ubiquitous in everyday life. Unless the world suddenly changes the way it engages with colour, we'll continue to see demand marching along with global GDP. We're seeing maturity in projects. New supply is going to be needed, unquestionably, which is why we took the step of putting our foot on Toliara. We've studied over 40 mineral sand assets over the last few years. This is the one we kept coming back to. We had a go at taking it over in 2014. It was a bit of a cheeky attempt that didn't quite come off, but we've now secured it. We acquired it at the end of last year, settled it about 2 weeks ago. We think it's the best undeveloped mineral sand asset out there. It's big, 850 million tonnes. It's got expansion potential beyond that. It provides a base that will enable us to operationally scale up over time. We'll be able to add significant output from this operation for relatively modest capex after we get up and get going. A very simple processing, mineralogically pretty straightforward. That simplicity, high grade and scale is going to produce a revenue to cash cost ratio very similar to Kwale, in fact probably north of it, of 3 to 1. It's a very similar project to Kwale in scale. Capex won't be materially different or significantly different from Kwale, most likely. Throughput won't be that different. Earnings probably won't be that different either. So the big difference is it'll be going for 40 plus years. We like the stage of development. It's well advanced. We've got mining licenses in place, environmental permitting in place. It's had, in theory at least, a definitive feasibility study done on it. There's some aspects of that we think need some rethinking and some more test work to finally settle on the right flow sheet. So we are going to take it through a study phase. But it's at a stage where it can be in production pretty soon. In fact, we're targeting 2021. Very well supported by the Madagascan government. I've just come from Madagascar, and it's very clear the government's level of support for this is very clear. And we think this is a project that we can execute really well. It's squarely in our wheelhouse in terms of where it is, what it is, the scale of it. We're really comfortable with it. Going to be pushing pretty hard. As I said, we've already had a team in country for the last couple of weeks. We're taking a 100-tonne sample out at the moment, which we're going to use for some further test work. Stepping back to rethink some of the concepts behind it, and then we'll push it forward through pre-feas and feasibility study phases over the next year and a half, and look to be in a position to make a decision to build around Q3 next year, which would see us in production around mid-2021. So we're really broadening base here. We've got a team with a track record of delivery. The entire team that brought Kwale into being is still with us. It's an exceptional team that I'm very proud of. We've got a consistent high cash flow operation at Kwale that provides a real engine and an anchor for our business that has extensional potential. We've got a good sound platform for growth now with our shareholding base and the debt position with supportive lenders. Markets are improving, supporting a need for new supply. Got our foot on an advanced, absolute world-class project in mineral sands in the Toliara Sands project. Really does create a unique company in our space. By mineral sand standards. It's a mid-cap. It's we've got a very high cash flow operation, we've got a development project, and we've got a team that can execute well. There's no other companies in our space that are positioned that way. So it's going to be exciting next few years for Base.